Trini Mina Mary is now joining me live from Caracas in Venezuela. Trini, thanks very much for joining us on NDTV. First up, you're joining us live from Venezuela. What is the sentiment, the situation on ground at this point of time after your president being captured by the US President Donald Trump?
Well, the most recent information that we have so far is that the Supreme Court of Venezuela has designated Delsa Rodriguez, which was the vice president, now is the president in charge, according to the Supreme Court of Venezuela. She will be taking all the decisions on the absence of Nicolas Maduro inside of Venezuela, because they claim that Nicolas Maduro continues to be the president of Venezuela, but he was kidnapped by the US. It is important to remark that most of the institutions in Venezuela are government controlled. Most of the judges of the Supreme Court were designated by Nicolas Maduro. Also, the members of the National Assembly, they are the majority of them, the 90% of them belongs to the government party. So most of the decisions that are coming from the institutions in Venezuela are supported by people loyal to Nicolas Maduro. Today, the environment here in Caracas is in calm. The streets are mostly empty. It is a Sunday. It was a hard Saturday for many Venezuelans who were afraid of after this military action taken by the United States. So far, the country tries to continue their daily routine despite what happened yesterday.
Right, Trini, you've given us a lowdown of all that's happening in Venezuela. Maduro is in the New York detention center, and we are learning that there are some reports of Venezuelans celebrating Maduro's arrest. You're joining us live from Venezuela. If you can just tell us the interpretation of how are Venezuelans feeling right now after Maduro being captured by Trump.
Well, there's mixed feelings. As I said, there's people, groups of people that are government supporters that obviously doesn't allow what happened yesterday. They reject those actions. And in Caracas today, there's a demonstration called for members of the government party that they will show their discontent over these actions. You have other type of Venezuelans and that they feel that that was the right thing to do because they felt that Nicolas Maduro was an authoritarian leader, but inside Venezuela there's not much of that discontent showing in the street because some people fear they could be detained, as I said, for security forces that are loyal to Nicolas Maduro, so they prefer not to express their discontent. Those demonstrations that we have seen of people celebrating are mostly from Venezuelans that are living abroad the country. In Miami, for example, there is a big diaspora. We need to remember that about 8 million people, more than 8 million people migrated from Venezuela due to the critical conditions they were living in the country.
The US President Donald Trump also said that apart from US running Venezuela, US will also fix Venezuela's oil reserves. Is there any information on that front? Perhaps is there any US company that is moving towards Venezuela to take in charge of the oil reserves there, which is one of the largest in the world?
Well, first of all, despite the words of President Donald Trump, there's no indication inside the country that the new authorities of Venezuela are willing to do that. For example, Delsa Rodriguez denied most of the statements made by President Donald Trump yesterday. She says that the Venezuelan oil, of course, is the property of Venezuela, and they will continue doing business with international corporations that wants to work inside of Venezuela. One company, U.S. company, still working in the country is Chevron. Chevron has maintained its operation with the authorization of the United States, despite the sanctions, and that is one of the main sources of production, oil production for Venezuela. That U.S. company. Well, it depends what they are talking, if they are talking, and that is the big question, if the new authorities of Venezuela are willing to talk to Donald Trump after that.